Hi guys, and you are very welcome back to Time Out this week. First of all, let me introduce our panel for the week. Conor Meany from UCD Marion, Owen Kiernan from Mardyke Arena, and Luke Thompson of Black Amber Temple Oak. So you're well welcome along here, guys. And of course we have a Men's Super League panel because we are going into the quarter-final stages of the Hula Hoops Pat Duffy National Cup, which are going to kick off this weekend. But first of all, we're going to start with our players and coaches of the month for the month of November. So we're just going to announce the winners of those now. So starting with the Men's Super League, and Conor will be happy to be sitting on the couch because UCD Marion have a double win this month with head coach Yanis Liapakis taking the coach of the month of the Men's Super League, and Mike Garrow is the player of the month. So I'd say congratulations to you, but you're not featuring there at all.
Why do I come on this show? It's great for the two lads. Garrow's been playing great so far this year, and November was a pretty good month. We're still disappointed to lose that Thunder game, but in general we played pretty well, and Garrow's been central to pretty much all of our good stuff so far this year.
Yeah, of course, UCD winning 4 out of 5 games in November. They did, of course, drop that game against Thunder, as Conor just said, but they did get a big win away against Garvey's Tralee Warriors as well. Moving on to the Women's Super League, and the coach of the month for the Women's Super League is Mardyke Arena's Carl Kilbride, after they had an unbeaten run through the month of November, most notably beating Courtyard with the Celtics, who were top of the table at the time at home. So congrats to Carl. And the Women's Super League player of the month is DCU Mercy's Tiffany Corselli, who put in a massive performance for them in the Cup last Friday in particular, also against Courtyard Liffey Celtics, and to see them through to the Hula Hoops Women's National Cup semi-finals in January. Moving over to the Men's Division 1, and it's down to Cork we go, and in fact we're going to stay in Cork for the next 4 awards, because Coach of the Month for the Men's Division 1 is going to Kieran O'Sullivan of Ballincollig after an unbeaten 5-0 run throughout the month of November, while it is no surprise to see that Father Matthew's Marcus Thomas has been nominated Player of the Month, most notably after that triple-double. He got over one weekend, and he indeed scored over 104 points in the space of 18 hours, so pretty impressive there indeed. And in the Women's Division 1, it's a double win for Father Matthews, with head coach James Fleming even picking up the Coach of the Month award. They have been unbeaten so far this season. They are currently top of the Women's Division 1 table. They are unbeaten in the Champions Trophy, and of course unbeaten in the Hula Hoops National Cup. And it was Niamh Dwyer, who is also the player of the month for November, Niamh Dwyer, who got them through to that cup semi-final, scoring those 2 vital free throws at the very, very end of the game to win 44-42 against Marble City Hawks. So congratulations to all of the winners. We're going to have the full list of that up on the website directly after this show, and we'll be getting all the awards out to you as well. So with that done, we're going to look back at the weekend that was, and it was a busy weekend of Men's Super League action. And Conor, we're going to start with your game, because it was of course the first game of the weekend, UCD Marion against Éina, in a game that you could have lost really. Éina came really strongly back on you in the last quarter, but good scoring from yourself indeed, and Mark Garrow of course pulled out the win. So how are you feeling after that? You're top of the table now.
Yeah, it was a good one. The league is so difficult this year that you can't take any win for granted, and Éina are much improved, as everyone knows, and you add in the fact that we were playing on a Thursday night, which obviously is difficult for both teams. It adds the kind of extra bit of unpredictability, so you don't know what's going to happen. And Scott wasn't playing. Dan kind of played about 4 minutes and was hurt, so we're kind of relieved enough that we played very well in the second and third quarters. Like, we were down, 6 or 7 going into the second quarter, and by the end of the third quarter we were up about 10. But they fought well, and they, like the two lads, Garney and Galley inside, are tough. Aidan Dunn's tough. Like, the American's good. And then even the little spark of having Michael Dara back kind of gave them another little lift. And as I said, in this league, this year in particular, you can't take any kind of game for granted at all. And they certainly ran us close, but every win's a good win.
Yeah, indeed. And of course, UCD Marion Staying at the top of the table, thanks to Pyreable Colester, who had a massive win against Griffith College Source Thunder on Sunday. And before we go over to Owen to chat about that game, we're just going to hear what Brian O'Malley had to say.
I can only imagine what the two sets of players are feeling like, because it was a real intense game up and down. So yeah, like both teams were putting bodies on the line there, and you know, it comes down to it at the end there. It comes down to a couple of different things, you know, missed shots here and missed shots there, and key rebounds, key stops. You know, anytime a game finishes so close, you know, there's always an element of fortune involved. But I mean, credit to both teams. Anybody who was here watching it got a fantastic display from both sides.
And that, of course, was head coach Brian O'Malley talking to me after that game on Sunday. But Owen, what a fantastic win that was, 73-76 in the end. But you really had to fight hard for it.
Yeah, we had to fight, of course. They're one of the top scoring teams in the league. I think holding them to 73 points was a very good defensive performance from us. We have a good record there. Actually, we've won twice in the last 3 years, I think. So we were confident going. And I think we were down 13 at one stage, so we knew they'd be most vulnerable when they were ahead, so we just let them get a bit of a lead and then just kind of pulled it out. So some very good performances from Kieran Rowe and Royce Williams in particular, scoring in the end when we needed them. So
yeah, and big performances on the other side as well, like Travis Black and Connery Baltimore really stepped it up in the last quarter, and of course Isaac leading the charge. How did you find it trying to keep your lead at the end? Like, it was kind of a frantic ending to the game.
Well, Travis brings a lot of energy and skill to their team, and obviously Isaac orchestrates their whole offense. But I found that Baltimore was the hardest to deal with, not only from myself matchup wise, but we didn't really have an answer for him in the second to fourth quarter. I thought we did a good job in the first, but he kind of sussed out the way we were playing him early on, and from then on his relentless work on the boards alone is enough to get him 15 points a game, you know. So even at the very end he had a tip in to bring it back within 1 point. So I found that his relentless work the whole way through the game was really hard to manage. So I'd say if Thunder had won the game, it would be mostly down to himself.
Yeah, and looking in from the outside, because I know Temple Oak were playing at the time, but like, what did you make of that game? You that was off on Sunday, you know, did you get to look at any of it at all, or what did you think?
I saw parts of it. It's obviously a great win for Colester. Like they've now beaten Thunder away, Temple Oak away, us away, Demons away. It's like they're racking up the big wins certainly, but I think one of the differences with that win compared to a lot of the other ones was like when they beat us, I think they scored in the 90s. When they beat Temple Oak, they probably scored up and around the 90s. When they beat Demons down there, they scored up in the 90s. It was like they shot the lights out and kind of pushed through. But I'm sure Brian is happy that in a kind of grittier game where maybe things aren't always falling for them, that they're still able to come back and pull out a win in a slightly low. It's probably, if anyone had said before that game what score it was going to be, everyone would have been saying kind of high 80s. So for it to be lower scoring and for Colester to win it was huge for them, and another good win for the league in general, just to keep it kind of everyone beating each other.
Keep yourselves on top as well.
As long as we stay there, then it's great for the league and it's great for Basketball Ireland.
And Blackhammer Temple Oak, we're not forgetting, of course, we're playing DCU Saints at the weekend. You came out with the win, but D. Proby again with 34 points. How did you find him?
He's an exceptional player, really, you know, can really shoot the ball from anywhere. You really have to be right up on him or he's going to shoot it, and he shoots very high percentages from all over the court. So we sort of knew he was always going to be an issue, but I think we did a good job overall. Like, he scored 34 in the end, but I feel like he really had to work for those 34, and sort of going into the game, that's what we wanted to do. If he had to really work hard for his points and take, hopefully, the more shots he takes, the better. But that was a goal, and I think we did a good job, yeah.
And it was a tight enough game, really. I know you pulled out towards the end, but overall a tough contest.
Absolutely. I mean, DCU are a top side, really. You know, they've had a unlucky run with injuries, certain guys being out throughout the year. But you know, every week, every time you play DCU, they're going to be exceptionally well coached. They've got a lot of great players with Martins and Graham and Dee and a lot of really top players. And you know, you have to be ready, as we can see through beating Swords back-to-back weeks earlier on in the year. And sure, like Connor said, it's really a crazy year where everyone's beating everyone. It's a really exciting time for the league, I think.
I reckon that if that DCU team that they have this year, if they had that same team over the last 2 to 3 seasons, they would have been in the top 3 at this time of the year. They're that talented. It's just that the league just this year happens to have such depth and quality that they've been kind of unlucky. And Martins hasn't been there the entire time. Owen Darling's been injured, hasn't really been there. So that's a serious team. One of the things that I know Colin O'Reilly said a couple of weeks ago, and it's so true, is that with D-Pro, you can't get disheartened when he's scoring 34 points. Like Luke said there as well, it's you have to make him just work as hard as you possibly can, but he's going to hit shots, he's going to hit tough shots, he's going to do everything on top of you, and you have to just kind of be able to brush it off and keep going and just keep trying to make him work as hard as possible. I know Al, when Al was here one of the first weeks, he was kind of D probably had been bigged up to be one of the best players that's been here in a long time, and Al was kind of we'll wait and see. But now that everyone's actually seen him, it's pretty accurate. People constantly ask the question of why is he here, what's going on. So it's great for the league to have a talent like that, definitely.
I'd say you're really looking forward to that game this weekend as well, which we'll be talking more of in a couple of minutes. But just some other results around the league. Garvey's Tralee Warriors 89 to 76 point win over UCC Demons. Did that result surprise or any of you, or what do you think?
It didn't surprise me in the fact that it was in Tralee and that Demons didn't have Kyle. Those two things together. Kyle's so important to Demons, and the crowd in Tralee are big, and it was pretty much a kind of do or die for Tralee to win. So it wasn't a huge surprise, although Demons came out early and were leading, so
Adrian Sullivan at 29 points as well. Yeah. It's a huge performance from him. And Belfast Star, of course, overcoming Cubs in the 5th game of the weekend up in Methody. 75-65 actually, just a 10-point win there for Belfast Star.
Yeah. I mean, Cubs they're definitely a team that's getting better every week. I know it was close at half time up there too, and I mean, Cubs in other years they probably would have picked up a few wins by this stage as well. And you know, it's just it's a really tough league this year, but they're definitely getting better every week, and every week is going to be a challenging game, whoever has to play them.
Yeah, and of course Belfast New American, I don't think you've seen him yet, have you? D'Angelo, he top scored for them with 22. And Clement, who we have to give a shout out to this week, or Ryan Oliver will kill us. After we met them at the Belfast Classic, Clement got 15 as well, so good scoring.
Great stuff, Clement. really delighted for the lad.
And Ryan, we hope you're doing well over there in the States as well. So that is the wrap of the Men's Super League. I'm just going to run through the other 3 divisions quickly before we move back on to the Pat Duffy Cup quarter-finals coming up this weekend. So it was Hula Hoops National Cup action across the other 3 divisions last weekend. Starting with the Women's National Cup, so the Women's Super League level, a massive game between Cork Liffey Celtics and DCU Mercy on Friday night in League Sip Amenities. Cracker of a game, obviously a repeat of last year's Hula Hoops National Cup semi-final down in Cork, which Liffey Celtics won, but DCU got their revenge in style. Nearly a game that deserved overtime, I would have said, but could have had a winner either way, but it was DCU who came out 76-81 in the end, with Jasmine Boone and Anya O'Connor top scoring for Liffey Celtics, and Alex Masakel and Sarah Woods, and of course Player of the Month Tiffany Corselli in the top scorers for DCU Mercy. So they now advance on to the Cup semi-finals in Cork in January, where they're going to meet NUIG Mystics. Mystics, of course, had a phenomenal weekend last weekend. They hadn't won a game up until last Thursday night, and then they went into the preliminary round of the Hula Hoops National Cup, where they met IT Carlow Basketball over in Calasanctus in Ormore, winning out in an overtime thriller there against IT Carlow Basketball, with Anya McDonough top scoring with 31 points. So a massive win for NUIG Mystics, but they then had to regroup fairly quickly to play their quarter-final game, which was on the Sunday. But luckily enough, they were at home again and in Calasanctus once more, which seems to be their gym. as they also won out another overtime game on Sunday against Portlaoise Panthers in a cracking game as well, with Anya McDonough again top scoring for the Mystics team. So they are going to be going head to head with DCU Mercy in the semi-finals in Cork. And the third game of the weekend, the fourth game between Glanmire and Parable Leicester, was postponed, and that's due to take place in the coming weeks. But the other game was between Singleton Super Valley Brunel and Maxwell WIT Wildcats, which was a repeat of a Super League game 2 weeks previously that had gone to overtime, and which Brunel won in overtime, and they went on to repeat that performance last Sunday in Parochial Hall, winning out and booking themselves into the Cup semi-final. What must be noted here as well with Brunel is their under-18s have also qualified for the Cup semi-final, and they're hoping to have a third team in the Cup semi-finals, as their under-20s will play this weekend as well. I'm going to keep talking because it is Hula Hoops President's Cup, the men's Division 1, and it is 2 Cork versus Kerry showdowns in the month of January down in Cork, as Neptune, who got a walkover into the semi-finals thanks to Titans, they will go on to play Keane Super Value Killorglin in the semi-finals in January because Killorglin beat Paris Texas Kilkenny in a cracking game down in Kilkenny last weekend. And the other semi-final sees their neighbours Ballincollig. They will also take on Scots Lakers St Paul's Killarney. That's after Ballincollig came out winners against Portlaoise Panthers, and Scots Lakers St Paul's Killarney caused a major upset down in Cork when they overcame Father Matthews. And finally, the Senior Women's Cup, and it was an absolutely huge weekend for newcomers to the division. Fab Plus Northwest of Donegal, because not only did they secure their first league win against Ulster University Elks about 2 weeks ago now, they then went on to cause a huge upset against UL Huskies in Ballyshannon last weekend, winning out in the end 69-56. So congratulations to them, booking themselves into their first ever Cup semi-final, along of course with Scots Lakers St Paul's Killarney and Ballincollig, who are also newcomers to those divisions. So across the women's Senior Women's Cup, Fab Plus will now go on to play Meteors, and Griffith College Source Thunder, who had a bye into the semi-final, will go on to play Father Matthews. So now I can take a deep breath and we'll go on to the preview of the weekend, which is why these three guys are sitting here beside me, because it is of course Hula Hoops National Cup quarter-finals in the Pat Duffy Cup. And we're going to start with you, Conor, just because you're over that side. You're going to DCU Saints. How are you feeling about it? DCU have a great record in the Cup this year. They knocked out reigning Cup champions Griffith College Source Thunder.
Yeah, we haven't won a game in the Cup yet this year either. So, it's set up to be a great game. The game in UCC in the league earlier in the year was a good game, and that was back when we had Big Mike as well before he got injured. So we're kind of the walking wounded at the moment, which is pretty much what every team is at this stage of the year. Everyone's kind of trying to just make it to Christmas and have a week or two just to kind of fix themselves. So we'll see. It's going to be a very good game, and obviously trying to keep D Proby as quiet as possible will be a goal, but it's really trying to restrict the likes of Graham Bremley and Tariq and those sort of lads, not letting any of them have a huge game. Provisors, obviously. If D's probably going to get his 30-35 points anyway, it's just don't let any of the other lads go off. Big time would be one of the big things. So we'll see how we get on. It should be a good game.
And what would it mean to you guys, I suppose, to get back into a Cup semi-final? Having been knocked out last year from the semi-final stages by Leicester, who are sitting beside you. See, he doesn't even remember knocking you out. But but seriously though, what would it mean to get back into a Cup semi-final?
This is officially my last time on the show. First of all,
I'll show highlights of 2011 next time. I promise.
It'll be great. You want to be in the Cup every year. To play in the Cup final here, which we've been lucky enough to do twice, is as big a kind of profile game that there is in Irish basketball. So it's always the goal for everyone. There's not much else going on in January anyway, so you might as well be playing Cup basketball and try and do something great. So we're obviously disappointed in how last year went, but we'll give it our best shot on Saturday to get back there and try and build to try and get back to the Cup final again.
Yeah, and of course Black Amber Templeogue, you guys are playing Aina this Saturday night. Interesting, your former club from last year. But Aina also, not to remind you, everyone's going to say I'm being mean to everybody tonight, but Aina obviously beat you guys already in Super League this year. So how are you looking forward to that game?
Really looking forward to it. Yeah, absolutely. It was a great game when we did play them in their home gym in Aina. Obviously, yeah, being there, playing there the last 2 seasons. So it was a pity that we couldn't get the win. It was one of those games though. It was a high scoring one, and just they made some good plays down the stretch, and we didn't, and they managed to get the win, and we found our form since then, and we sort of managed to win. I think eight out of our last 9. Our practices have been great, so I think we're well prepared, but we're also very aware that the Aina are a very big physical team. With Garvey and Garvey inside, it's going to be really tough. Tamron's having a great year, and 2 of the top young players in the country, Aidan and Neil, can both really shoot the ball. So we know that we're going to have to play very well to get a win. But I think if we do what we do best, we'll be there or thereabouts to come out with the win anyway. Yeah.
It must be nice to have it at home as well. Like Oblet Hall is such a good atmosphere as well.
Absolutely. Some of the Red Army is what they like to call themselves. It's been all our home games this year have been nearly full. Even this past Sunday we had 2 different school teams coming up from down the country to the game, and it was a great atmosphere. They got really loud, got really behind the team, and I've no doubt Aina are going to bring a lot of fans as well, and Oblet Hall on Saturday night should be packed, absolutely. Yeah.
Definitely. So 2 big games there. 7 o'clock is the DCU UCD Marion tip-off, and 8 o'clock, yes indeed, 8 o'clock in Oblet Hall in Inchicore for Templeogue and Aina. But moving over to Sunday, and last year's cup finalists, Colester, you're on the road to Galway and Moycullen, and of course, not to remind you as well, but Moycullen had the better of you guys over in the wheelchair already this year.
They did, yeah.
So you're heading to the Jazz, and speaking of gyms with atmosphere, the Jazz is another one that has a cracking atmosphere as well.
We're delighted to be playing there. The Kingfisher, obviously it's a great gym, but the atmosphere is going to be great in the Jazz, and the crowd tied to the sidelines and nipping at shot inbounds and stuff like this. So we'll enjoy that. We're looking forward to it. Obviously the last time we played Moycullen, it was after a big win against Templeogue, but again, we're coming off a win, not as high profile, but we're looking to make sure the minds are right this week. We had a good training session last night, and we're just in cup mode this week. So
Royce got hurt in that last game, didn't he?
Second
he did,
quarter,
yeah.
wasn't it?
It was early on. Obviously, we didn't have a great start to that game, but we brought it back and then just let it go again in the third. So what we've been trying to push on with the last couple of weeks was taking it 1 possession at a time and not even looking at, 1 game at a time, or even more than that. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to look on really, because you can't really look past anyone this year at all.
No, of course not. Like even I don't want to pick on anyone, but Cubs, when we went out there, they're still a very talented team. Like they're just young, and if there was an under 23s team, they'd be the best team in the league,
Yeah.
So we went to Cubs last year, and they bet us twice in the league. You really can't look past anyone. So
last year in the league, you could pretty much go, when Templeogue were leading, you'd be like, alright, in about 5 weeks time there's a game that they might lose that could kind of open it back up.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not that way this year at all. It's pretty much every weekend. You never know what's going to happen, which it's great for the league.
It's more exciting.
It's
I was
more
gonna say,
exciting.
do you like it that way?
Oh, of
Obviously,
course,
it's
yeah.
better.
Because obviously you don't want to drop any games, but if you do, other teams will drop games as well. Like we'll just wait and see UCD and see if they pull a UCD. No.
Shots fired.
That game at hand though is very valuable as well. So who's that against?
Aina.
Okay. So.
Yeah, we didn't play them at the start of the year, but it's like that. there's lots more twists and turns going to happen before the end of the season, so it will be interesting.
Yeah, of course, and Brian, I know you couldn't hear him, but I'll tell you what he said. Brian said, you know, that going to the Jazz against a Moycullen team being coached by John Cunningham at the moment as well is going to be a really difficult task, particularly when you look at the likes of Brandon Maguire, who's been playing so well for Moycullen, Paddy Lyons as well, is fantastic for him this year. Are you nervous about any of their players? Or, like, obviously we've spoken about all your key players and yourselves as well, but is there anyone you'd be looking at closing down the way? Connor's hoping to chase Dee Proby on Saturday night.
Not personally.
Just leave that to someone else.
Well, we're very lucky with our coaching staff to have Brian and Johnny and Mark, because they're all so intelligent basketball brains, and in every session, every week, we look through what are the strengths of the opposition, and they explain that to us, and obviously we do our homework as well, and they watch endless game tape, as do we, and I think they explain it in such a way, and every week is different. You know, it was a different challenge to Thunder and how we defend them, and now it's going to be a different challenge with Moycullen, and obviously Maguire will be a focal point, but I feel like it's just down to us now, because they've done their work with us. It's just our job to go out and implement it on the night.
Yeah, and they gave you a very tough game there a couple of weeks ago as well.
They absolutely did, yeah. And Brandon Maguire had 37, I think. He hit like 5 or 6 threes. He couldn't miss. He were chasing them all over the court, and if he had half a second, it was going in. So he's a great compliment to all the really good Irish players that they already have. And yeah, they gave us a great game, and they're going to have to be ready for it.
He's got a weird shot, doesn't he? It's like
he doesn't jump.
Yeah, he doesn't jump, doesn't move, so he doesn't take him any
shot.
time to kind of get the shot off, because it's just so quick.
Yeah, well, speaking of shooting, we had Dave Hopla in the court here yesterday as well, so if you want to learn any shooting tips, you can see a video of him on our Facebook page as well.
And just on that video, try not to look at Jason shooting in the background, because he's over 5, just in case.
He told us he was a 3-point shooter though, Jason, but he couldn't prove it yesterday. But 3 games there that you wouldn't like to be calling whatsoever. But the 4th game of the men's Pat Duffy Cup, and I don't mind which of you want to talk about this, it is all roads leading to Cork for UCC Demons and Garvey's Tralee Warriors. They're meeting for a second time in less than 2 weeks. Obviously they met last Sunday in the league, as we were just talking about, with Tralee coming out on top down in the complex there. But it's Parochial Hall next Wednesday evening. I'm looking at you, but I don't mind. What do you think of that game? That's going to be a tough one to call, because Demons already beat Tralee at the start of the year. Now Tralee have got one back. So, and Parochial Hall is a tough venue.
Is that a ticket-only event?
It is also a ticket-only event, yes.
Where can you get them?
Secretly working for Demons. They're available now from Parochial.
But no, I think they might be trying to limit the Tralee supporters at the game after the Tralee got the better of them. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
Tactics maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little bit of that going on. Parochial Hall is obviously similar to the Jazz. It'll be a tight-knit group, and yeah, I think it will be a different story to the league game this week.
Yeah, definitely. With Kyle back, it changes the dynamic.
Kyle's going to be back, is he?
I assume so.
Okay.
I don't know.
I was just wondering.
I have no idea.
I'm not landing in
well, I assume he is. If he's not, then it's a big advantage to Tralee, but like both teams are going to have to get used to playing in the Parochial Hall. It's not somewhere that Demons play that often, although I think they train there a bit.
Yeah.
You have to get used to the smell of meals on wheels when you walk in the door. Overcome that. So.
But the friendliest people.
No, it's a great place. It's a big part of Irish basketball. Like,
tea and biscuits in the Parochial Hall. I love them down there.
Like everyone growing up, the Billy Kelly in the Parochial Hall is one of the big things that you'd always have played in. So, no, it'll be interesting to see. But the Parochial Hall hasn't had the likes of Pantovic, Dusan Bogdanovic and Le Mans all on the same court at the same time. There won't be that much space for anyone else, so it'll be a great game, and hopefully someone down there will stream it so that us up in Dublin can watch it. That would be fantastic.
don't know who you're looking at there. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a great game, another unpredictable one, especially throwing in the midweek fixture again.
Yeah.
And obviously a lot of the Demons boys, either from training or will be quite familiar with the court and the rings and then things like that, whereas it'll be quite new to the Tralee team. But I think it's going to be a good game. Yeah, it's very hard to call.
I was going to say, Jenny, you want to try and call it, or would you?
No interest.
No interest.
Don't want to do that.
Don't want to. And how are you finding both teams, actually, Demons and Tralee, this year? You've all played them, yes, you have. You guys beat Tralee, so did you actually, down in Tralee, and Demons as well. You guys beat Demons.
Yeah, we beat them in UCD before Le Mans was there, and Adrian was also injured, and they still almost beat us. Demons have an amazing 6 or 7 guys, and then that's their issue, is that they just don't have 8, 9 and 10 that they had in previous years. But they're still like Colin, Kyle, Le Mans, Adrian, they're all like brilliant basketballers, so I'd say they're very much gearing up for the cup, kind of being their big focus at the moment. Tralee are they're very good. I think something that I'd say they're figuring out at the moment, and something that I reckon a lot of people overlooked, is just how good Ryan Leonard really was last year. That like when he was doing it last year, I think people were kind of like, he's just the other young guy on the court, and he's taking opportunities and he's playing well, but it's only when you take him out of it that you really realise all the things that he was doing. And I think Mark Burnson said that before, is just kind of like that Ryan would have covered up a lot of things at times, and it just shows the quality that he was. But even without Ryan, they have great players, and Trey and the 2 big lads alone are going to cause lots of people lots of problems.
Yeah, and Trey is really starting to take off again now at this stage of the season. Like, he's starting to come on to the top scorer for Tralee consistently now as well. He's hard to close down.
He sure is, yeah. I mean,
yes.
I agree.
Stay quiet,
Yeah, maybe had a slightly slower start to the season than people were expecting after his MVP season last year, where he was lights out the whole year. But he's really starting to come into his own now, and he's another one who's very tough to guard. He can sort of almost just really try and, he's gonna score and he's gonna do damage. You just want to try and make him work as hard as possible for him to get his points, and that's all he can really do as a defender, really.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, that is 4 games in the Pat Duffy Cup quarter-finals, and we're just going to skim through the other leagues now quickly before we wrap up. It is Super League action in the Women's Super League, obviously. NUIG Mystics and DCU Mercy, one of the picks of the weekend, obviously, because that is going to be a repeat of the Cup semi-final in January. So we'll be looking closely at that on Saturday. Ambassador UCC Glanmire will face Maxall WIT Wildcats also on Saturday, and they're going to their home court this time, Upper Glanmire. They've been playing in the Mardyke so far this year, so they're going to be back in Upper Glanmire this weekend. Paribal Colester are home to Singleton Super Valley Brunel, where they'll be hoping to keep their home record intact. They're currently unbeaten at home. And Courtyard Liffey Celtics and IT Carlow Basketball are going to go head to head on Saturday evening as well. We need to take a deep breath now for the men's Division 1, because every team, from what I can see, have a double header this weekend. So IT Carlow Basketball and Scots Lakers St Paul's Killarney are going to face off in the Barrow Centre in Carlow at 12:30 on Saturday, and what's set to be a really close game. IT Carlow, of course, with Kojak on the couch here last week. They're enjoying some success this year, they're sitting 4th on the table, so that is a big game for them this weekend. And then Carlow will then travel to Clondalkin on Sunday, where they're going to face Dublin Lions. And Scots Lakers St Paul's Killarney will also be back at home on Sunday, and they're going to face EJ Sligo All-Stars. Meanwhile, Ballincollig and Portlaoise Panthers will go head to head yet again in a repeat of last weekend's Hula Hoops President's Cup quarter-final, which Ballincollig won. And then Portlaoise will be at home the next day to Ulster University Elks, while Ballincollig will be away to Killorglin. Next day, Ulster Elks and Neptune. Actually, speaking of Neptune, I'm forgetting a big game this evening. Neptune and Keene Super Valley Killorglin are tipping off at 8 o'clock Obviously we're not in Cork, so we're not going to be streaming it, but we will be providing updates as and when we get them from Neptune. But that game, of course, is a massive game with Clorglan sitting at the top of the men's Division 1 table, well, unbeaten on the top of the men's Division 1 table, that is, with Ballincollig just ahead of them because they have an extra game played. So it's going to be an interesting fixture this evening. And speaking of Neptune, they also play Elks this weekend. I'm just going to skim the rest of these because there's far too many. Paris Texas Kilkenny and LIT Celtics, and Celtics will also play Father Matthews. Keens Super Valley Clorglan will play Titans, and Ballincollig and Father Matthews will play Dublin Lions as well. I've probably left somebody out, so I'm very sorry if I have, but we will have all the fixtures up on the basketballireland.ie website. I can't even talk English anymore. And finally, over to the Women's Division 1, we are back to regular season action there as well, with Marble City Hawks welcoming Fab Plus Northwest. Fab Plus coming off the back of 2 wins in a row, one in the league and one in the cup, and of course Hawks coming off the back of that loss against Father Matthews in the cup last weekend. So that's set to be a good game. Father Matthews, speaking of whom, have a double header this weekend. They play Meteors at home in Father Matthews, that is, on Saturday before welcoming Fab Plus Northwest on Sunday. So that is all of the fixtures across the weekend. Thanks a million to the 3 guys for your great insights into the Men's Super League and of course the Hula Hoops National Cup, which is this weekend. And we will be back this time next week.